Okay, let's get honest. Do you want to know why some men shrink away from her while others jump right in? Back as like it were a battlefield. Oh, and here's the twist. What's actually going through a man's mind when he's depressed? Is it fear, love, ego, or something deeper? This is more about who we truly are as guys than it is about sex. Stay with me because the last part will forever alter your perception of yourself. It gives you a joy that most people don't get. Genuine confidence comes from giving rather than receiving. Some guys have an odd ability to make their spouse happy, not because they want anything in return, but because doing so is the reward. It's like creating a masterpiece, and the pleasure is seeing her smile. The true trophy is not your ego, but rather her body language and trust. Stoicism teaches us to manage our desires without killing them, but what if giving takes precedence over pursuing approval, and you become its two emotional ties instead? That's the key. No one discusses emotional intimacy. It's about being vulnerable and connected, not just about the ACT. I get to know someone so well that physical barriers go down, and sure, it's always frightening to be vulnerable, but for the Stoic man, facing fears isn't a choice. It's a duty to let go of ego and fully embrace her. That's where connection and trust are established. 3 curiosity kills. Comfort. Let's face it, some men's boldest actions are motivated by curiosity to see how she reacts, her inclinations. Her rhythm is an art, not just a physical skill. You must approach it like a scientist, observing, adjusting, and analyzing every move she makes as a hint. You are not there to hasten the process. Rather, you are there to study, connect, and discover. Once you do, that's when the power flips. Every breath she takes is feedback. For others, this is a power play including submitting and handing her authority, saying, "This moment is yours." For others, it requires genuine bravery. This is where the spicy oral sex begins. It's a dance between strength and vulnerability, and when done with respect, it's pure magic 5. It's about mastery, knowing that you have the ability to push her to the brink and back again like you're directing a symphony. Getting rid of insecurities. It's heavy. The majority of men bring baggage into the bedroom. Am I doing it correctly? Does she find it acceptable? Is this sufficient? Society misleads us by instructing us. Perfection is a trap. What she desires isn't flawless skill. Instead of being present, listen. It's you being genuine by being present. Stoicism serves as a reminder to focus on what you can do with work, care, and an open mind, rather than what is beyond your control. This is what makes a difference. Chains comprise the 6 taboos. Let's get back to the raw. Why do men still fear oral sex because of the stigma associated with it? It could be due to antiquated ideas about shame or dominance control. Real intimacy is about accepting and embracing every aspect of your partner, physically, emotionally, and yes, sexually. When you reject these taboos, you're not just releasing yourself, you're also letting her know that she's completely welcomed, and that's power. 7 talk or walk is the underappreciated art of communication. If you are unable to honestly discuss what she needs, wants, and feels, you have already lost. Instead, ask questions and observe her body language. Intimacy is about exploring when you're honest and open, not about checking boxes. What's left of Magic 8 after fading the giver's high? This is for the genuine people who give without expecting anything in return. The Stoics called this virtue, but we now just call it love. When you give her your whole attention and her joy becomes your objective, not only does she win that connection, but it also improves your connections. Thrive when they are based on trust and caring rather than ego or games. Bonus tip number 1, the warrior's weakness. Most men won't acknowledge this, yet being vulnerable makes you stronger. Stoicism is about being in charge, and guess what? Lowering your defenses while concentrating solely on her needs. It's not about being icy. Most men flee from that because it's true control and courage. Bonus concept number 2, the silent movement. This isn't about sex. Rather, it's about change in a society where males are expected to be in charge, dominate, and always take the initiative. By choosing to give, you're rewriting history. The story you're telling is that I don't follow social norms. I see her -3, and I honor her. The conflict between vulnerability and ego in men. Let's face it, every man has an unseen tug of war inside of him during intimate moments. We have been indoctrinated by society to be the strong one. The vulnerability of the provider, which is meant to be a weakness, is actually what makes the relationship stronger when you are genuinely attached to that person. For some men, oral sex symbolizes that vulnerability. It's about removing the mask rather than losing control. The act itself becomes a symbolic gesture, a step away from ego and towards a shared connection where nothing is held back. Society encourages us to wear it because it's about saying, I see all of you and I'm here for it. It's raw, unfiltered, and profoundly human. But here's the twist. After realizing that true masculinity isn't about walls, but rather about having the guts to tear them down, men who embrace this vulnerability frequently feel stronger in the end. Bonus 4. Why guys are afraid of being judged and how it hinders them. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Many men refrain from oral sex because they fear criticism from their partner, their own inner critic, or society's distorted ideals of manliness. Intimacy can quickly devolve into a battleground of fears when thoughts like, what if I'm not good enough? Or, what if she's secretly comparing me to someone else? Creep in. The worst thing is that this dread is about them rather than their spouse. It stems from a deep, almost primal concern that they won't measuring up. Men are continuously taught that they must excel in everything. If they don't, they're failing. However, most men are unaware that women don't crave. They yearn for authenticity and perfection. A guy ceases to dread criticism and begins to develop confidence and faith in me the instant he stops striving to prove himself and begins to be present, listen, and learn. That additional 5 is the sexiest thing ever. The unspoken strength of silent confidence. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most confident, which is a truth that most people won't tell you. The same is true in interpersonal relationships. Quiet assurance. When it comes to intimacy, quiet confidence says, I'm here fully present and I've got you. It's not about fancy techniques or trying to tick off every item on some hypothetical checklist. This type of magnetism is what makes a partner feel safe, valued, and deeply connected. It involves being purposeful, paying attention to the details, and allowing deeds speak louder than words. Still, confidence also entails being at ease with the fact that not everything will go as planned, and that's okay. What counts is your readiness to show up, learn, and develop as a couple. Only then will you be able to achieve a level of intimacy that transcends the physical and turns into something precious and unbreakable. Last thoughts. At the end of the day, be the man who takes risks. Relationships are based on tiny, regular actions of concern, curiosity, and vulnerability, rather than large gestures. Be the man who has the courage to venture beyond his comfort zone. Be the man who puts connection before ego and intimacy before fear. If you're prepared to delve deeper into your relationships and your own self-awareness, click the subscribe button and leave a comment. Please share your comments or a tale with me below. Let's break the cycle and redefine what it means to be there for the people we care about. See you in the next video. Let's start a discourse that questions outmoded conventions, celebrates genuine connection, and remembers that real men aren't scared to love boldly.